A heart fully surrendered is like this soil over here in the Midwest, the bread basket of our country. When it's tilled and when that seed goes in, it produces a crop. And so our heart, when it is set in complete surrender, softened to the will of God in Christ Jesus, that is fertile ground then for the word of the Lord to come into our heart and produce fruit that is kingdom fruit that God desires. And so we see in Matthew chapter 6 verse 10, the prayer that Jesus taught us to pray has this complete surrender embedded in it. When we come to that phrase, "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." You see, heaven has complete harmony because everything is done in harmony with God's will, completely surrendered to His will, and then all things work together and produce the love and the peace and the joy because everything's in God's will. And so, how does that kind of heart develop in us? Well, we're to practice complete surrender to Jesus every day. First of all, through surrendering to His Word. His Word is His design for our life. And when we completely to surrender to it, whether it's be patient and kind, or true to our spouse, or trust Him in a difficult circumstance, when we surrender to His Word, then the blessing of God's fruitfulness springs forth in our life, and He empowers us then to do His will and live according to His design. It's such a harmonious way to live, both in our mind and in our lifestyle. And then secondly, surrendering to the cup of suffering that God has for us in order to refine our faith and produce Christ's likeness in it. Now, this is the most difficult one to surrender to because nobody wants to suffer, nor does God want us to stay there. But He's got a specific thing to accomplish through it all. And so let Jesus be our model for that. As He was in the Garden of Gethsemane, He prayed, "May this cup be taken from me, yet not my will, but Thy will be done." And when He completely surrendered to the will of God and took that cup and drank from that cup, God strengthened Him and then brought such awesome purpose and fruit from it. And so you and I, that's our design for us. And then thirdly, to surrender to the call of God. When Jesus called His disciples, 2 of them were in the boat, and what did they do? They left their nets and they left their father and their brother in the boat, and they followed Jesus wherever He led them. Now, they failed from time to time, but by God's grace, they got back up, and Jesus led them wherever He wanted them to go and taught them personally. That's God's design for all of us. And so we'll have a call on our life that we're to surrender to. It's going to be one of those that doesn't maybe make sense to us. We weren't planning for that. We weren't dreaming about that. But God interrupts our life and brings surprises at times, a call, His will to be done in our life. It'll bring such purpose to us when we surrender that call in obedience to Him. And as I close today, my heart is full of that joy and peace from just simply knowing we're in God's will. We're doing a simple thing out here in the countryside today, and my heart has love in it for you and this blessing that we want to pray. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May His face shine upon you and light your way.